Rebuild of the favorites. We here for the latest. South side or the north side. Not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams. Both sides got our own rings. On the mound or the long ball. But we don't put the wrong strings. Yeah. It's that time of the year now. Wrigley or Gantes or the whole league that we hear now. New show with a new mood. Discussions and interviews. Trade rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife.
Welcome to the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. My name is Aldo Soto. No Zoe this week. Mitch will join us later. But as always, we have Kevin at K-Fids. Kevin, opening day.
Amazing. Fist my bump. Sorry, I've seen Project Hail Mary twice already, so I'm a problem.
There you go.
As you can
Check
tell.
out Kevin's Twitter for all his thoughts on Project Hail Mary. Cubs opening day, Sox opening day. We're gonna do 2026 season preview again. Mitch on for some Sox preview talk later on. Zoe will be back next week. As always, thanks for the support. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. If you're not subscribed already, do so. Apple Podcast or Spotify. I'm sure we're on your favorite podcast app, wherever it is. But Kevin, right before opening day, biggest news that's been kind of, swirling around the past month or so. Pete Crow-Armstrong and the Cubs get a contract extension done. As excited as I was when the news first came out, when Jeff Passan first reported it was close on Monday night, it almost took 24 hours for us to find out what the contract details were. That was a little scary because, why isn't this being announced yet? But they finally were. 6 years, $115 million for Pete Crow-Armstrong. By the way, an early birthday present. He's going to turn 24 years old on Wednesday. 6-year extension starts next season for PCA. What thoughts on it, Kevin? 6 years, 115. That's an average about like 19.16 million a year. Buys out 4 years of his arbitration, 2 years of free agency. He's a Cub until at least the 2032 season.
I mean, if he plays the way that he's capable of and he stays healthy for the life of the contract for the most part, I think it's an absolute steal. Getting him for less than $20 million, a guy that's a 30-30 guy, buying out the arbitration years, right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You've basically avoided any kind of stuff, any kind of drama, any kind of hard feelings. You have basically put this player as a centerpiece, and he feels it, and this makes him feel the love. Something that the Cubs haven't done a great job of when it comes to their homegrown talent in the past. This is a very big about face compared to how it went with the previous, franchise faces prior. So this is great. I mean, it's a fantastic move. I got to tip my cap to Jed Hoyer and the rest of his team for getting this deal done, and obviously for Pete Crow-Armstrong for taking what very well is going to turn out to be under market by the time he's done with his contract. I think. He's going to be a guy that's going to be worth $25 to $30 million a year, and they're getting him for what is that coming up to 19 or no?
Yeah, it's about just a little over $19 million a year on average there. A couple of the guys,
no club option too. That's kind of risky with the no club option.
No club. Oh yeah, that is what makes this deal. And I think it's also another reason why they did get it done is because Pete Crow-Armstrong about to turn 24 years old. Obviously, came in 22 full season at 20, or his first full season at 22. Last year, his breakout, his age 23 season. It doesn't come with any club options, like a player options that can make it these mega deals that we've seen younger guys sign, like Bobby Witt Jr. with the Kansas City Royals. Julio Rodriguez has this insane contract that has multiple options from the Mariners and from himself that can make the deal go up to 14 15 years for him. None of that for that. The Cubs are giving Pete Crow-Armstrong the option to become a free agent at 30 years old, so he gets another bite at the apple while also getting these years of guaranteed money. I remember when the talks of contract discussion negotiations going on, dating back to last April. It was right before that series in Los Angeles when he really took off at first, because he struggled for the first couple of weeks of the season. You don't know if any of the contract talk was maybe in his head, whatever it was. But that went away. At the time, it was reported about like the $60 million range with incentives, options that would max it out at 90. But if you take that guaranteed number of, I think it came out to be 66 million that was reported, he almost doubled it with this one. He's getting 115 guaranteed. So obviously that's thanks to that breakout season. A lot of discussion from a lot of fan bases after this news broke out about is this an overpay? Was it a fluke season? His and honestly, even from some Cubs fans, his ceiling is or his floor is too low. It's too risky. This is too much. Thoughts on that? On the floor of Pete Crow-Armstrong? I think we saw the ceiling, or maybe it gets better. He already was a 30-30 player who was a Gold Glove winning center fielder and was maybe arguably the best defender in baseball. That's a pretty good starting point right there.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good floor as far as I'm concerned. I look at this right now. The best part is there are certain fan bases that, they're really, really big mad. And it's really strange too. I get it. Mets fans are so salty because they got half a season of Javi, who when they made this trade, they were in first place. They were cruising. They were big bosses in the NL East. And then this trade happened. The Cubs get PCA. They get Javi. Their wheels fall off. They don't even make the playoffs. They go from first place to fourth place, I believe, after the trade. And then you get Pete Crow-Armstrong as Cub fans. They're very salty. He's just mid. They don't know that they have. Howard Johnson hit 30-30 for them back in the 90s or whatever. And they obviously have what's his name?
Sosa. Sosa was the last 30-30 guy.
Yeah, so it's funny for them. And then strangely, again, it's just so strange, how mad White Sox fans were about this. Pete Crow-Armstrong really, really, really lives rent-free in the White Sox fan base headspace. It really is incredible to see how upset they are. I'm not mocking it either. I'll say this: if he's not your guy, he might be unlikable. Dodgers fans are surely going to hate him this year, but he's our guy, so it's fine. He could be our Dennis Rodman and dye his hair blue, purple, yellow, green, whatever he does, just like Dennis, and he can, as long as he doesn't kick a cameraman on the groin, we're good. So it's funny to watch though, because he's a guy that generates now a polar response from people, and it's fun. The Cubs have a face of the franchise guy that is something they can really build around. Chicago now, you've got PCA, you got Caleb Williams, you got Bedard, you got to get Montgomery in there. We got to make it a perfect golf foursome right there, those four, and make it like a Chicago fam kind of thing. But it's great to see, regardless. It's just funny though. But I think the floor for him is what we're seeing right now. Last season was the first time he's played more than 125 games in his baseball career ever. And you could see him hit the wall. You saw his physical, it's an adjustment. And that's why it's hard for younger players to continually play really well early on in their career, because they're learning how to actually live on the road and play in the show and beat their bodies up. And he played 157 games last year. That is fantastic for anybody in Major League Baseball this day and age. Usually, the load management crap is big. So it's great to see, but I think that we haven't seen the best of Pete Crow. I can't say his name. It's so hard to say. Haven't seen the best of PCA.
That's why I just like to call him Pete. He likes going by Pete. I just call him Pete now.
It comes out as Pete Crow-Armstrong. I don't even know. I don't know why that happens, but it's
a quick note on the again record-breaking contract extension for Pete Crow-Armstrong. It was almost 20 years since the last huge extension. The last one was from Carlos Zambrano, 5 years, $91.5 million. Aramis Ramirez, 5 years, $75 million. Sammy Sosa back in 2001, 4 years, $72 million. And back in 2023, Ian Happ had the 3-year, $61 million extension for him before he was a free agent. Quick question, though, Kevin. I think it's an obvious answer for you, for me, for a lot of Cubs fans. But who would you love to see the Cubs give out another or their next contract extension to?
Nico or Harner, of course. I mean,
Right?
there's no question about that one. That one's like, yeah, let's put this one to bed. Let's lock up the pups for a bit, and then you got yourself a good core to kind of move forward. I hate using the word core now because we're traumatized, but you got a nice, good heart of the franchise, we'll call it, if you can get those guys put together. And again, you got Bregman for a couple more years. This is it's time. Nailing that would be just like such icing on the cake with this. Is to in a couple days, see a Nico Hoerner deal kind of come through, and then the guys can just play. And this is going to be good for Pete. This is going to be good. If Nico can sign that too, you don't want those guys thinking about contracts while they're playing. You want them to worry about what's in front of them, not the deeper part. They'll get lost looking at the tree in the middle of the forest, and you want them to look what's at the here and now, right here. Every pitch by pitch, not after this pitch, what's going on out there in the future. You want them to not question that part. Let them just know that they're coming to work every day with job security, and they're not going to have to worry about all that other stuff. And that makes it really easy for a player to kind of just lighten up and loosen up and just play ball, which is what you really want to do, especially in a long season like this.
And again, I don't know if it was the case of last year. It's like, that report came out. Obviously, there was no agreement done at the time. But right around that period is when Pete Crow-Armstrong just took off in that series against the Dodgers, where he was one of the best players in baseball for the next 3 months or so, before the decline in the second half. Moving on, though, or any final thoughts on the Pete Crow-Armstrong extension? Cubs getting it done now. Anything thinking about, hey, they wanted to get this done before a potential lockout, maybe? I think that was like a pretty big incentive, probably.
Sure. And I'm hard on Jed Hoyer too.
They can't make any contact when they're on the lockout.
Yeah, once that starts, it's like lights out. And I look, listen to this. You can clip this, I guess. Jesus, this sucks. Justin Roman, if you're listening, F you. But I have to tip my cap to Jed Hoyer. He got the job done. This is a big boy move. This is a very good move. I'm hard on Jed Hoyer, as hard as anybody probably is, in a logical manner, I hope. But this is legit. This is a great move. I'm very, very, proud of Jed Hoyer. It happened, man. Look at that. You can clip that. I mean, that's God. It's like next thing you know, Halley's Comet's going to fly through the air. Hell's going to freeze over, and lots. I can't think of any more like crazy things that happen, but great stuff. So tip my cap to you, Jed. Good job, dude. All right, now go get your towel, or I'll go get mine. Actually, in this case, but that was great, man. That's a good move, man.
All right, it's Pete Crow-Armstrong locked up through 2032. Good for him. And again, what a early birthday present there for Pete Crow-Armstrong. Moving on. Speaking of money. On a day that caused so much joy for one side of town,
I will sue you.
I don't know, man. Frank Thomas is suing the White Sox, and I did learn today this is the second time that Frank Thomas has sued the White Sox. I guess it happens once every 20 years because he had sued them back in 2006. I think it was for some medical reason. Check out Southside Behavior. Missy did a great recap on the history of Frank Thomas suing the White Sox. But Kevin, it seems like Frank wasn't too pleased that the White Sox are selling jerseys with his name on it without his permission, without the explicit consent of Frank Thomas.
Well, I mean, if they're selling his jersey with his likeness and they're not giving him a dime for it, that's messed up. That's unless they say that it's not really Frank Thomas, it's just this guy named Joe Thomas who likes number 35, right? It's Thomas. It says Thomas. So but he'll probably win that. He's going to win. They're going to settle with something. And it's just a way to, I think this is just a way to get the White Sox attention. Maybe they were, how the White Sox move and they're kind of cheap in the first place. And so by dropping a lawsuit, it gets their attention and they'll settle this thing out pretty quickly, I bet. But it is messed up if they're using his likeness and he doesn't get a dime for it. That's messed up for the veteran players. If this is happening around baseball, this might be the first shoe to drop, but there might be more. I mean, there's a lot of players out there that they sell their jerseys with their name on it. And if they're not getting a piece of that, that's that's your thievery. I mean, they didn't sign their likeness over for till their dying day to not get some sort of compensation with it. So they deserve the compensation if it's their name.
Yeah,
So,
and again, Frank Thomas retired, so he's not an active player. I love how everyone becomes like experts on these topics. I have no idea how that likeness works when the player's retired now. He's in the Hall of Fame. I saw some people bringing that up. It's like, oh, well, he's in the Hall of Fame now, so the rights they're handled by the Hall of Fame. Is that true? I have no idea. But like you said,
if it is, it's not okay though.
Like you said though, kind of. Frank Thomas already, again, icy relationship with the White Sox this offseason. Black History Month, there was that whole controversy when the White Sox had the graphic that didn't include Frank Thomas for being one of the African Americans to win MVP for the White Sox, and he tweeted at the team very angry that he was not included in that graphic back in February. Now this lawsuit, I think most White Sox fans are on his side. I can't, because again, the other side is Jerry Reinsdorf, so I don't think anyone's on Jerry's side. Good for Frank Thomas. Get your money, big man. If
and
if not,
earned it.
Yeah, I mean, if not,
some more boner pills.
Good story. Yeah. Or get back on the boner pill.
Yep, get back to the boner pill. Get those boner pills going. It'll be good.
Hopefully we'll have a Sox fans perspective. I know Mitch has some thoughts on this Frank Thomas lawsuit, so we'll have him on later on. But next up, we'll go to opening day roster surprises. We'll begin with the Cubs here. Kevin, you asked me last week if I thought Kevin Alcantara should be on the roster in right field now that Seiya Suzuki is going to be missing the first week or so, or first couple, like 10 days, 10-day injured list for Seiya Suzuki. My initial response, I said, hey, if he's actually going to play, yes. If he's just going to be like a backup on the bench, maybe get one start, and then he's only going to get a couple pinch hits, no. Have him just play every day at AAA. Ultimately, the Cubs decided that their plan wasn't going to be to start Kevin Alcantara because he was optioned to AAA. So instead, we get we already knew that Michael Conforto was going to be in the opening day roster. Dylan Carlson, one of the guys that you did single out at the beginning of Cubs camp. He gets one of the last bench spots. And then the biggest surprise. And this one, I kind of feel sorry for the guy. Scott Kingery, former top prospect for the Philadelphia Phillies. He signed a contract extension before he even made his MLB debut with the Phillies. Ended poorly in Philadelphia. He's been kind of in minor leagues, played briefly with the Angels last year. Hasn't been very good. But he's a versatile defender, can play all over the infield. The Cubs wanted a backup infielder. Now that Shaw is going to see some early time in right field with, say, Suzuki out, they needed a backup infielder. But the way they've been phrasing this has been like, Scott Kingery is going to be on the plane from Arizona to Chicago. He'll make the opening day roster if the Cubs don't find anyone else who's better. So Kevin, what are your thoughts here? Your guy, Kevin Alcantara, not making the team over some other guys. What do you think?
I mean, it sucks, but you know what? He's got the options. Some of the other guys don't. It's better to shore up early, maybe get a little bit more open development for him. I mean, he played well. He got the job done. His numbers look great, for the spring, but, obviously Craig Counsell likes veterans. You can almost read the writing on the wall when it comes to him, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I think that this was just, it was destined to happen. I'm not disappointed. It'd be great to see Kevin Alcantara, but he needs to play every day. So if there's not a chance for him to play every single day, then he needs to go to a place where he will, which would be, down the farm. And then, who knows? Carlson comes out cold, Conforto cold. They can make decisions. If these guys come out and they play like doo-doo, then, you go say, all right, thanks. It's still low risk, low reward for all of those guys. So it's depth. They're all depth in the first place. And the lineup like this, the way that Moises is swinging the bat, you got a Matt Shaw utility guy that can move around a little bit there too. It sucks for Alcantara, and I hope the kid can take it. He is a really, really talented ball player, and I think that his ceiling is extremely high. So this is the kind of thing that you really hope that they have the mental, and this is where we get to see, does he have the mental toughness to accept part of the game this early in his career? Some players take it well, they understand it, and some players don't, and they end up spiraling. So let's keep an eye on him. But I think from everything that I've gathered and seen and heard from people around it, he's got a good head on his shoulders. So I think he'll understand why, and I think he'll understand that it's temporary, and I think it'll just only fuel his fire to just showcase himself, so that when the time does come, he comes up and he's ready to go, and he just goes out and just mashes and just plays.
Yeah, I do hope, just for his sake, he understands that for his benefit, it benefits him a lot more to get 4 or 5 plate appearances every day these first couple weeks than be on the bench, maybe get in 1 game a week, and then he's sent down to AAA anyway when Suzuki comes back. And that's the thing with Scott Kingery. I know that some Cubs fans are like, this team can't be serious carrying Scott Kingery on their opening day roster, but this guy's gonna play like 2 innings of baseball in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
maybe. He's
don't worry about it.
I might as well be on the opening day roster for as much as he's going to be used. But looking at the Cubs projected, again, nothing official, but this is pretty much what it's going to be. You did get one of your guys, and honestly, one of my guys too, but we're kind of split here on how he's going to be used. Ben Brown did get the 8th spot in the bullpen over Javier Assad. The Cubs pitching rotation is going to start off with Matthew Boyd, followed by Cade Horton, then Shota Imanaga, Edward Cabrera, and then Jameson Taillon. The bullpen, we got Jacob Webb, Colin Ray, Ben Brown, Hunter Harvey, Phil Maton, and then Daniel Palencia. And then from the left side, we got a couple lefties, Hopi Milner and Caleb Thielbar. Kevin, a little bit of a surprise there. Ben Brown coming out of kind of nowhere, because it seemed like he was pushed down in the depth chart in the offseason. The Cubs trade for Edward Cabrera, Shota Imanaga comes back, Colin Ray comes back. The bullpen looks kind of stacked. The Cubs are always bringing in guys on minor league deals, getting guys off waivers. You're thinking that that last spot isn't really going to be open. But Ben Brown, an impressive spring training, and it's not just the numbers. He actually got a new pitch. That sinker looked pretty good.
Yeah, this is big. I mean, and another thing that you have a guy that can be a swing man if needed, in case of emergency, and you don't have to dig down somewhere else to find it. He's right there in the pen. He can handle it. I mean, Ray can do kind of the same thing too. But I think Ben Brown, I still believe he's going to be a very good starter in this league. But right now, it's not the Cubs' need. It does look good right there with Boyd, Horton, Imanaga, Cabrera, and Taillon. You start with that. You need extra days rest. He can spot start. He can piggyback start. He can do a lot of other things. My question is, he wasn't super great out of the bullpen, but he last year wasn't super great, some of the time as well. So in this case, it's all hands on deck. This is a big season for the Cubs. So I'm sure that, it's one thing for a season last year where it was kind of like, let's see where they go. This is a team that is picked to win the division. This is a team that has no business not making a nice run in the postseason, and maybe even, chopping the throat of the Dodgers. And, guys are like, hey, I'll do what I got to do. Let's just do it. It takes what it takes, right? As Coach Witt used to always say, it takes what it takes. And if this is what it takes, you go out there and you fucking deal. And that's your business, man. You handle it.
As a Ben Brown believer, I do think he can. I've been saying it since last year when the struggles were happening. Still believe in the talent. If he didn't get a third pitch, I do think that he had enough arm talent to be a shutdown guy out of the bullpen. But I love the fact that he didn't just dwell. He got crushed last year. He got demoted to AAA in the summer. In a time when the Cubs were desperate for starting pitching, and they're like, man, you're just not it right now. He was there for a while, came back, and then he was added to the postseason roster. He comes back, still has all the confidence in the world. I forget the exact quote that he had with Bruce Levine, and I'm sure when he wrote it out, it was probably not exactly what Ben Brown said, but it was like something to the tune of like, you can see the type of pitcher I am. I have all the confidence in the world. He gets the sinker, which I think he's throwing harder than his four-seam fastball in spring training. Obviously loves the feel for it. Kevin, explain to me, because I don't know. I always hear guys going like, I'm working on a new pitch, or I have a new pitch that I worked in the off season. How difficult is that actually when you're so used to only throwing whatever you throw, whatever's been natural for you for like, maybe like 10, 15 years of playing baseball? How difficult is that to pick up, not only to learn a new pitch, but to like actually make it good, which it appears Ben Brown's been doing with the sinker?
I mean, it's difficult to do it in the middle of a season because you're obviously trying to once you start, it's kind of like you got to wait till the off season to do it. And if you can put it into your regimen, it's not terribly difficult. It can be terribly frustrating. And you only have a certain amount of bullets in your bullpens on a every couple of day basis. And so you have to spend a lot of those burning those, trying to make sure that you can figure out how to locate this pitch. Cause again, it's major league level. You can't make mistakes. You can't be a few inches off. You have to be efficient with it. And so you have to throw it a lot to get a good feel for it. And that takes away from, working on your other more primary pitches that you already have. And so that makes it difficult. But I think that grasping a concept of it, if you have a good teacher showing them how to properly do it, how to do it healthy, I don't think I wouldn't say no one wants to ever like minimize how everything's difficult in baseball. Keep it like that first. But as far as difficulty within that part of the construct, I don't think it's terribly difficult. It requires time and patience and persistence, and it takes 5 to 10 pitches here, 5 to 10 pitches here, because you don't want to waste your primary stuff or you're still gassing those things up, because then you get inefficient with the things that really you do well. So you have to kind of pepper them in every so often, but you don't get, it's not, so it takes time. This is the thing. He's probably been working on this for a while, even maybe dating back to last season, but we're not going to know about it because he's not going to unveil that stuff. He's just, maybe I'm going to throw 10 during, I'm throwing a 60. So I'm going to maybe, go 50 with my regular primary stuff. And then, I dropped, I'm going to drop 10 of these, get a couple works, move on. And so that's that, it's maybe you maybe get to throw it 20 times a week, 25 times a week. And so that, it's a slow process to get there. And so that's the difficult part, is the patience with it. It takes a lot of time because you don't want to lose the other reps elsewhere.
Yeah. And I'm sure with the discourse, like I know he heard it. I'm sure the Cubs coaching staff has been telling him, like, he knew a lot more motivation to, like, he needs the third pitch. He just does. As talented as he's looked before, like the results last year, it was like he was good or he was getting crushed. The fastball was 97, but it was straight, and guys were hitting home runs at an alarming rate. Even the curveball, like, guys were just sitting back. It's like, all right, he's only going to throw me a fastball or a curveball. I'm waiting for it, location, whatever it is. They were dialed in, and they had one of the most highest barrel rates, hard hit percentage against him. And it was frustrating because we would, even when he was struggling, even when he came back and he had a couple rough ones. I remember one in Detroit, he had one against the Reds, where he's coming in out of the bullpen or whatever. It's like 4 innings, 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs. It's like, all right, yes, this is the Ben Brown that we know can be great. But then the next time out, it'd be 2 2/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 home runs. Like, all right, well, that was a bummer. But good to see Ben Brown getting rewarded for his work in the offseason there. I think the main I briefly mentioned it with Ben Brown winning that 8th bullpen spot is that the Cubs for the past 3 years, when we've actually cared if they had a good bullpen or not because they were supposed to be competing, is that a lot of the times you were seeing guys on minor league contracts get an opportunity here. Guys brought in last year, Brad Keller, minor league deal. Some other guys in season, Drew Pomeranz was in-season trade, a minor trade, and he turned out to be great. This time around, none of those guys really hit. I thought Corbin Martin was going to be a dude, but it turned out not yet. Colin Snyder, another guy who some fans thought that he was going to be able to win a job. He didn't look all that great, which opened the door here for Ben Brown to get in the bullpen.
Take the opportunities that you get. You're given an opportunity, make something happen, or it's next man up. They can only hold off for so long. So make the decision for them.
Now, the White Sox had a kind of a big surprise for them a couple days ago. The legend himself, Reese McGuire, opted out of his deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. He gets signed to an MLB deal with the White Sox. Everyone's thinking, what the hell is going on? And then it's revealed Corey Lee, who's been having a great spring training. Last year, injuries, and then he was passed over by the younger guys, Cuero and Teal. Corey Lee is out of there. Reese McGuire's in. Kevin, what do you got on that?
I mean, he just, he tossed off that contract up in Milwaukee and, came on down to the South Side. I mean, he's a veteran guy. You don't want to ride in an Uber with him, but he is, a guy that, provides a lot of, veteran leadership. He was great with the Cubs. He's familiar with Chicago. You get up to Wisconsin, of course, you're like, oh, Jesus, what am I doing up here? Let's go. I don't care. I'm going to go back on down to Chicago, the better city. So, that's the best part about this is that, he literally said, I don't want anything to do with this place. I'm out. And he headed on down. Now, I'm not sure really what was behind all that, but for the White Sox, it's a good get. The Corey Lee thing's a little bit shocking, but, McGuire wasn't too shabby last year with the Cubs. He was, he had a couple big bombers and, when that guy, jerks those hands, he's got some good forearm strength and he can really,
good
drive the baseball
behind the plate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's a good catcher. Yeah.
I'm going to try to be as kind at what actually I'm not. Corey Lee, from the very limited times I've seen him play and just looking at his numbers, Corey Lee sucks. I'm sorry. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think, hey, I get it. You're going through a rebuild. You fall in love with some guys who show you glimpses here and there, but Corey Lee, bad, like really bad. I don't like, it's not that big of an upgrade, but I think it's an upgrade for behind the plate. Does it ultimately matter for the White Sox this season? I don't think so, because I think Kyle Teal comes back. He starts to work in coming back from his hamstring injury, and then Reese McGuire will eventually be released, and then it will be just Edgar Cuero and Kyle Teal sharing time behind the plate, and none of this actually mattered because it's like we're talking about like third backup catcher here. And again, I think Reese McGuire is an upgrade over Corey Lee. Corey Lee, brutal. I think last year he barely played, okay numbers. But overall in his career, since he actually made it up with the White Sox, not much of a hitter. I don't see the big deal here. The Corey Lee love spring training again. Spring training, it's practice. It's practice. It's great practice though. One other note for the White Sox here that we saw on right before we started to record on Tuesday night. According to Francis Romero, right-handed pitching prospect Jedrickson Paez has been informed that he will be making the opening day roster for the White Sox. The White Sox picked him up in the Rule 5 draft this offseason from the Boston Red Sox. 22-year-old, straight up from Double-A. Didn't really see him pitch a lot in spring training. ERA in the 6s. Talented arm, though. 22, lively arm. I mean, if you're a team like the White Sox, you want as much arm talent with you as possible. I kind of like this move for the White Sox. Paez, 22, Double-A, skipping Triple-A, straight up to the majors. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, it's a big move for a young man. It's great for the guy, but I'm a big fan of like that Double-A jump. I I don't, some people might think that AAA is necessary. I'm not someone that actually thinks AAA is necessary. If your stuff is really good at AA, that's generally where you keep more of the more nastier, more talented prospects and talent in the first place. And if you feel like they've got the mental makeup to play it in the show right now, there's no point in waiting. Get them up there. Let's go. Let's find out what you got there. And I'm more excited to hear Zoe try to pronounce his name than more than anything else, because this one's going to be a great. He's going to call him Jedi
that X in there
Son.
is tricky.
That's like Jedi X Son.
Jedixon? It has to be Jedixon.
Jedixon, yeah.
But
you just call him Jedi.
Very briefly in 2005,
Excuse me. Where'd that come from?
at High A in the Boston Red Sox organization, he had 7 games started, 2.79 ERA. He held opposing batters to a 228 batting average. He had a 27.7% strikeout rate, 3.6 walk rate. Pretty damn good there. Again, 22 years old. So let's see what he gets. And again, if not, then you just return him back to the Red Sox.
Turn him back from whence he came.
Right back to the Red Sox. And I mean, hey, after Shane Smith last year, the White Sox have had, hopefully for them, a pretty good run here of Rule 5 picks. Unlike the Cubs last year, again, a year ago. This is why it's another reminder of just why spring training just sometimes on some of these guys, on guys who just pop up out of nowhere, it just doesn't matter, man. Remember Gage Workman? Workman was going to be the dude on the bench for the Cubs, the backup third baseman, and the first time this guy came into a game, he looked terrible. He looked like a guy who never played baseball. He looked scared at third base, at the plate, completely overmatched. And it kind of just I don't know. It just brings that that narrative of spring training numbers. These guys can look great, and as Zoe always likes to say, they're hitting home runs off guys who are going to be bagging your groceries next week. Like a lot of these numbers just don't matter at the end of the day. And it goes back to Corey Lee. Corey Lee had a great spring training. Just the Sox know what they have, and seeing a couple years of Corey Lee, and obviously they didn't mind replacing him. We'll get the official opening day rosters here for both teams later this week. Again, opening day on Thursday. And a quick reminder, if you guys have anyone listening, watching, if you have T-Mobile, jump on that free MLB TV that T-Mobile offers. Especially if you're out of state and you're a Cubs or a White Sox fan, that's all games for free in most situations. Because I know, Kevin, sometimes in Las Vegas you get a little screwed there. But for the
not much longer.
For the most part,
Las Vegas Athletics.
But for the most part, that is a great deal for out of state fans there for Cubs and Sox. Let's get to some opening day lineup predictions. This would have been a lot more fun if Seiya Suzuki didn't get hurt, because the middle of the Cubs lineup would have looked a lot better there. But I have this for my projection here. And again, Seiya Suzuki out, 10-day injured list. Hopefully he only misses those 10 days. So if he does, it'll only be like 7 games that he'll miss. Not too bad, considering how, again, ugly that slide was in the World Baseball Classic. But Kevin, what do you think here? I got Nico Horner leading off, Michael Busch hitting second, Alex Bregman in the 3 spot, Pete Crow-Armstrong hitting 4th, Carson Kelly 5th, Ian Happ 6th, Moises Ballesteros 7, Dansby Swanson 8. And I do have, I don't think it would be my choice, but I think this is what the Cubs are going to do. I think they're going to have Michael Conforto in right field against the right-handed pitching starter for the Washington Nationals on Thursday, Cade Cavalli. Any thoughts there on that Cubs opening day projected starting lineup?
I like Horner, Bush, Bregman, PCA. That's great. I think I'm switching Ian Happ and Carson Kelly.
Okay.
And then the nice thing is Ian Happ's already lefty, so you're not really super concerned. Again, I'm not a slave to the lefty lefty bull crap. I think it's actually sometimes you force bad lineups. In this case, I don't necessarily disagree with this. I like Moises in that 7. I could see Moises in the 8. I'd feel probably more comfortable moving the veteran, Dansby up a little bit more too. But and you got Conforto out there in the 9 hole. So 5 through 9 is a weird crapshoot right now anyway.
Yeah, say Suzuki being out, just kind of messes that bottom part up.
Yeah, it shakes it out into a weird thing. So this one's kind of like, let's throw something out there, throw shit against the wall and see what sticks, kind of thing. And if it works, it doesn't. If not, you shuffle it again and you shuffle up and deal again until you finally get the right cards. And
I was thinking because in Game 5 of the NLDS against the Brewers. And again, it's a different lineup construction there because you have Kyle Tucker right in the middle, lefty bat, and Kurt Counsell was doing the lefty in the playoffs. He had Bush leading off, and again, Michael Bush had an unbelievable postseason, best hitter for the Cubs, just home run after home run in that series, and all throughout the playoffs, really. What do you think there, Kevin? What if Michael Bush is the leadoff hitter?
I mean, who's got the better on base percentage? Who gets on more?
If it's that, and that's the reason why I didn't put Pete Crow-Armstrong at the top. I know fans love the idea of his speed, but at this point, he hasn't proven to be the high on base percentage guy yet, and I can't have him there.
That's what Nico though does well, and this is why I wouldn't switch those two with Bush and Horner. Is that Nico goes up there and he's gonna fight off, shorten up and fight off a bunch of pitches, even with 2 strikes. And so this is a guy that's gonna, at least before anybody gets a chance to even dig in the box, they're gonna get to see whatever the dude on the bump is really throwing. He's gonna more than likely force the starting pitcher in his first at bat to show all of his wares. And as a result, everyone in the whole lineup is going to get an opportunity to know, at least, does this guy have this pitch today or not? And that's the nice thing that comes with a guy like Nico, who goes up there and he does fight, and he'll give you an 8-9 pitch at bat, especially to start off, because he's not going to go down looking very often. And so it helps build that understanding of what does this guy on the bump got. Maybe he sees something, something's flat. You see something, you're Michael Bush and you're on the on deck circle and you see the cutter's flat, and you've seen it now like 3 or 4 times in this at bat because Nico's up there fighting off, maybe questionable, maybe just off the dish, and he's peppering it off down the right field line to get another opportunity. And Michael Bush gets to sit there and goes, that was flat. Look at how that thing was not going arm side run. That was actually going glove side run. So if I can give myself a good bat plane and kind of adjust to that, I might be able to drive a baseball. So he gets an opportunity to see everything. And so does obviously everybody down the lineup. Those are very valuable guys. If you're in the on deck circle and you're paying attention the way you're supposed to, you're gonna see what you have on the table, and then you can go there with your fork and your knife and you can go eat. And I think that's the best part about Nico Horner is he allows everybody to see what's on the menu first.
Yeah. All right, folks, we got Mitch on.
How we doing, gentlemen? Shoot, there we go. How we doing, boys?
There you go.
Good.
All right, Mitch. Do you see the news?
Which news? There's a lot of news today.
We got Jedickson Paez. Jedickson Paez, thoughts? Opening day, bullpen.
Glad he made it. We got a lot of intriguing arms in the back end of that bullpen. I'll be curious to see where he slides in, but yeah, I mean, well-deserved shot. It's this the year to give a guy like that an opportunity. So excited to see what he can do. I mean, that's kind of what this whole season's about anyway, is giving a lot of these guys a little bit more of an extended runway so they can do. So I wasn't necessarily surprised he made it, but I'm glad they're giving him a shot, because everything I've heard from a lot of the future Sox guys and the guys that are covering those minor leagues more serious, like he's got some good stuff. So
yeah, get to see 22-year-old Rule 5 draft there from the Red Sox. The other big roster move that we're talking about was the catching situation. Corey Lee out, Reese McGuire in. My thoughts were Corey Lee sucks. It's all right. Minimal upgrade.
I'm with you.
Mitch?
Everyone was up in arms about that. Like, I don't think the move needed to be made, especially because Corey Lee really didn't have a long-term future with this team anyway, but they really did like what he did in the clubhouse, especially like that 2024 season when stuff was kind of going off the rails. Like all the coaching staff was like, this is a guy that was really good. And you've heard a lot of pitchers this year too, like Sean Burke, after his last start against the Rangers was saying like, yeah, me and Corey Lee have been really working together a while. And like that repertoire we've kind of had with each other and like, working together a while, I think that's really going to help heading into this year. So I was a little surprised from that aspect of it, but I mean, objectively, Reese McGuire, jerking off in the parking lot jokes aside, he is a better hitter. Slightly better.
Toss those off to the side, will you?
Oh.
Sorry.
I think it was like one of those, like the way he is objectively, like he's a very serviceable catcher. Like Corey Lee was like good at the pop time, but Reese McGuire's pop time, still very good. Excellent pitch framer. And you need the left-handed bat, too, because Edgar Caro does a lot of his damage on the right side. And Chris Getz even said this, like, hey, if we're going to have Caro doing the majority of our catching starting off the season, it'd be nice to have a left-handed bat. Corey Lee wasn't that. And I think between the two, it's a marginal offensive upgrade, but it is an offensive upgrade. If you're looking to trade both guys, Reese McGuire's been a guy that's been picked up by a lot of competitive teams these last couple of years, so he's probably a more attractive trade piece if you're trying to, like, win on the margins, so to speak. So I didn't hate it.
Looking ahead, when Teal does come back, and who knows how much catching he's going to do, coming back from the hamstring at first anyway. Like, is Reese McGuire, are the White Sox going to carry the 3 catchers again for like a large majority of the season?
I don't see any shot they carry 3.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't think they're going to carry 3 heading into the season with Corey Lee. That's why I thought he was screwed. And it's like, okay, this injury is giving you a kind of an extended opportunity here to prove yourself to potentially some other teams. No, I think once Teal gets back, they're probably going to have him DH, kind of like a platoon role, and then they're going to look to trade Reese McGuire and or DFA. But like, I would be shocked if they didn't try and trade him, or if he even like makes it past the trade deadline with this team. So I don't suspect his runway is very long with the White Sox.
We were talking about a few of the last bench spots for the Cubs that ended up going to some veterans. Kind of different situations. You got a team competing for, hopefully a World Series in 2026. But for the White Sox, what are like the final roster battles here as we're coming up to opening day?
Pitching's mostly set. Now, I heard Chris Getz say they're looking to add potentially another arm for the starting rotation. So like that, but it does look like the rotation set. It looks like the bullpen's kind of set. Really, the only thing like I see is kind of the outfield battle. Who's going to be those last couple of outfielders? Like Jared Kelenic, I think, being told he's not going to make the opening day roster. That's kind of like the first domino to fall. So really now it's between like Derek Hill, who I think they really like because of his speed and defense, especially if you're doing like a bench role. I mean, he's not a great hitter, but he is fast. He plays solid defense. So that's kind of ideal. Perea, I think he's going to make the team too, just because they traded assets for him. He's out of minor league options, like with the Rays, so they're going to give him more of an extended look. So I think he's safe. And then Tristan Peters is kind of the other one that's like in there. So it's like those 3 that I think are really kind of battling it out for like their last couple outfield spots, which I'd imagine is going to get decided in the last couple days. Now, Derek Hill, I did think was a lock, but he has not played the last couple spring training games. So I don't know if like that's anything to look into, but he's had a really good spring. So that'll be interesting to see. I think at the end of the day, though, like most of the major decisions that I was looking at in camp have kind of already been decided. Kelenic was kind of like the last one. It was like intriguing to see if he's going to make it. But right now, I think it's coming down between Tristan Peters, Derek Hill, and then Perea. But Perea, I'd be shocked if they let him go at this point. I think he's pretty safe to be the backup center fielder at this point.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it does look like Luis Angel Acuna is going to be starting in center.
Yep.
Great spring training for him, numbers wise. Who knows how that translates to into the regular season. Is Andrew Benintendi going to be like, is it going to be a platoon in left field? What's going on in left field?
It sounds like that's a good question. From what I've gathered, it sounds like they want Benintendi to be kind of the full-time DH. Now, when Teal gets back and they're kind of working him back in, I think Benintendi might get a couple reps, but they're really trying to keep him out of the outfield. His defense is kind of deteriorated. He's had the injury history. So that'll be, I think Austin Hayes has right field locked down. Acuna in center is interesting to me. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually working on an article for Sports Mockery on him today. Like, yeah, he had a really good spring, but it's kind of a big season for him. Like, one of the reasons the White Sox added him is like, we like the fact he has 5 years of control. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the infield, and we talked about this with Chase Mydroff too, like, he's kind of blocked in the infield. He's only played 3 games in center field, like in the regular season. So he's got the speed and athleticism to pull it off, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see because he's going to have to make this team like long-term with his bat, especially there's not a ton of experience in center field. I would suspect some growing pains there. So I'm very excited with an extended opportunity to see how he does. I think that's one of the more intriguing question marks entering the season is how much runway can we give this guy? What's his role moving forward? Is he going to be a platoon fringe quad A player for the next couple of years that fills out some depth, or is he going to be a legitimate starter? So that'll be interesting to watch. But I think left field will probably see a mismatch because Perea, I think they really like too. I think that's going to be kind of a platoon in left field with Hayes and Acuna getting the bulk of the work in right and center.
With the infield mix, you already mentioned it. How it's already pretty full, and you have Antonacci starting at AAA. He could be a guy who comes up. Is Luis Angel Acuna a guy who is going to get all the playing time no matter what, or do you think at any point it's like, man, this guy's struggling? If he does struggle, if he does struggle, it's like, hey, let's get him some time at AAA, or is he just getting like 600 plate appearances this year, no matter what?
I would think so because like his big question mark right now has just been sample size. It's a really small sample size. He's played just over 100 games and hasn't shown a ton offensively. But again, he's going to need to hit. Like the power he showed this spring and even the Venezuela Winter League is encouraging, but that's a small sample size. And like what's his best asset is his speed. But he doesn't get on base at a particularly high clip. Like he doesn't strike out much, but he doesn't walk. He doesn't hit for a high average. So that's going to be the deciding factor for me is like how well he can hit, because I think if he's not hitting and it's like average to below average defense, then I think he could be a guy that you might see sent down to AAA. But I guess to answer your question, if I had to make a bet on it, I would think he's getting close to 500 at bats, and they're giving him as long of a look as they can to see, do we need to address this moving forward?
All right. We touched on it briefly earlier, Mitch, but we wanted to get a Sox fans' perspective on this. What the hell is going on with Frank Thomas and the White Sox?
Reading through that lawsuit, and I'm usually on the big hurts, but you can tell there's some pent up resentment there between the social media posts like earlier with the Black History Month thing. And he even said, like, I'm taking receipts. So now you got like a little over a month later, he's filing a lawsuit against him. I don't know if this is when he's really going to win. I think it was kind of a petty lawsuit to begin with. I mean, who's buying realistically a ton of like Frank Thomas City Connect jerseys? But
my brother purchased one. I know that.
There you go. See, I don't like when they have sidebar, like, when you have the new jerseys that the players didn't wear and then like you're wearing like those, like that's a big turn off for me. That's a no. But like reading through that lawsuit, he argues that like the White Sox are using the goodwill of his name to try and generate sympathy and like boost sales to the new uniform. So I don't think he's gonna win. I'm no legal expert, but like I'd be shocked if he wins that court case. But it was interesting. There's some big names like thrown around in there between Nike and Fanatics, and they have potential defendants, including like Dix, Mitchell, and Ness. So that'll be an interesting one to see play out. But this is one I think because everyone's like, oh, it's a bad look for the Sox. It's a bad look for the Sox. Like a lot of teams do this or using former players like that. So I think it's just salty Frank. Like this is one like don't really think. I think the White Sox just kind of got caught in the crosshairs or something. Then
I mean, honestly, if he has a case or not, though, anything that can take down Fanatics at this point, I think would be a win. So I think by that reason alone, I'm on Frank's side.
I hope he does. I hope he does win. I just don't. I mean, I didn't think it was that. Like everyone's like, oh, what a bad look for the White Sox. Like they've done a lot of stupid shit in the past. This is not one of them, in my opinion.
Mitch, moving over the Cubs projected starting lineup on opening day. White Sox open up in Milwaukee against the Brewers. Mizorowski, that big fucking clown, is going to start for the Brewers.
I think they're I don't like.
What do you got for the White Sox lineup here?
What I think it's going to be opening day.
Yeah. I guess, what do you think it's going to be, and what do you, if it was up to you, what would you want it to be?
Ooh, okay. I think we'll probably have, off the top here, I didn't come prepared for this, people, so just
don't have two right fielders like Kevin did.
It's all improvisation.
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah. I have like 4 catchers like I had a couple years ago.
Well, Acuna, I would suspect, will go outfield. Acuna, I think, is going to be in center field. Austin Hayes is probably going to be in right. I would suspect they're probably going to throw, I think, put Correa in left to start off. Then first base, obviously, is Mooney. Second base, Chase Mydroff. Shortstop, Montgomery. Third base, Miguel Vargas. Carroll, I would imagine, is the starting catcher. Benintendi's DHing. As far as the lineup goes, so that's where it gets tough. I think it's probably going to be what I would like to see the lineup is Mydroff. I would probably have leading off still. Kind of like that. He's kind of like scrappy, like right there. I'd throw Austin Hayes number 2. I would throw, this is where it gets tough. So I put Mooney at 3 or 4. I think Mooney's probably more of a cleanup hitter. we got Montgomery 3, Mooney 4, Vargas 5, or Carroll 5, Vargas 6. Then we'll go, man, Acuna 7, Peters 8. Wow, who's batting 9th? Who did I miss?
Benintendi? No.
Oh, Benintendi. Fuck.
Benintendi.
Okay.
We got
Yeah, no, I
Benintendi.
got to Okay. Benintendi. Yeah. All right. Let me redo that. Thank you. Riveting content here.
Riveting.
All right. My draft leading off. We'll go Hayes batting 2nd. Montgomery 3rd. Mooney 4. Benintendi 5. Vargas at 6. Or Caro 6. Vargas 7. And then Acuna 8. And then Pereira 9.
Okay. I want to ask you this. I was going to ask this last week, but it's actually pretty good heading into the season here for both of you guys on the Sox, especially because they have a lot of young guys. Who do you think is in most danger of having like a sophomore slump?
Shane Smith.
Oh,
I like Shane Smith. I hope I am wrong on this take. I think he is a very serviceable number 3 starter in a rotation moving forward. I do not view him as an ace. There was a lot of warning signs last year. I thought that the fact he didn't really go deep into games, he had a long stretches where he just struggled to get outs. So he's the one I think is probably going to have a big sophomore slump. I think Montgomery will see a bit of a dip. Like, I don't think he's going to keep up the same pace, but I think he'll still be like the 20-plus homer guy, which is sufficient, even if he's not hitting for a high average. So that would be the one. I think Shane Smith's probably like my biggest prediction to regress. I hope I'm wrong on that, but that's the biggest issue with this team. Like, because I do think they got like, the bullpen's really improved. They got enough exciting bats, but that rotation's brutal, man. There's really no guy that you're looking at. It's like, okay, like I feel like we have a good shot at winning, so that's kind of tough. But
Kevin, I guess for the Cubs, it would be like, Matt Shaw, second year in the bullpen, Daniel Palencia, his second full year. Rotation. Edward Cabrera's pitched in parts of a lot of seasons, but last year was really his first full year. I think 130 innings for the first time in his career. Not really a sophomore year for him, but he hasn't really pitched consistently throughout his career. Behind the plate, maybe Miguel Amaya. Any like second year guy, or like maybe any new guy. I know we've talked about like the catching position, maybe just in general being a regression there for the Cubs, because last year Carson Kelly was insane. He was Carson Bonds for periods of the year.
Get Reese McGuire back pretty soon before the deadline. Like, this
there you go. Get Reese back.
A guy like that. Teams always need catching depth. So,
Kevin, like I know we're always trying to be optimistic here, but any warning signs that you see, or kind of like, I don't want to say, but got this feeling in the pit of my stomach that something can go wrong?
I try not to manifest stuff like that because, you have to be a realist. There is going to be something. It's just a matter of how are you going to course correct when it does. It's going to inevitably turn south at some point. You're going to hit, it's a 162 game season. You're going to hit a slump. You're going to hit a rough patch. You're going to have, it sounds funny, but these guys are, grown men with families. You're going to have family issues at home. You're going to have stuff to deal with on and off the field, and it's going to cause some sort of challenge or crisis. So like you just kind of hope that it's kind of like when you're bracing for a big tropical storm or a hurricane, and it ends up dying out in the Gulf, and you end up getting just like a light rain. You hope that it's the light rain, not the hurricane. And so when you're going through the season, I try not to speak that kind of stuff into existence. I'm actually one of those weirdos that don't like. I don't want to worry about what if. It's keep an eye on, and then when you see it, have a plan in place.
Fair.
You mentioned Edward Cabrera, and I don't know how much you guys talk about the rotation. I'm very excited for him. Like, I thought at the time they made that trade, like I was like, this is pretty. I understood like the pickup. I think that's a guy that, like, if you're gonna beat the Dodgers, like having him at the top of his game, like with Ben Brown, like that's the way to do it. Like, that's a solid top of the rotation you guys got cooking there.
Edward Cabrera, in a way, could be like the difference maker in a postseason series.
Yep.
Because depending, like you're hoping that you're getting Justin Steele back, and that he's like all in by October, that he's fully recovered and he's like hitting his stride. you're hoping big things for Cade Horton. You're hoping for a bounce back for Shota Imanaga. But Edward Cabrera is the guy who you have almost like another ace in the rotation now. If he meets his arm talent there and puts it all together, that could be.
And I feel like he's a guy too that like postseason. Those are his moments. He's that kind of a player. He like a Pete Crow-Armstrong, like a PC, like Peter. I'm gonna call him Peter. So I can't say I cannot say Pete Crow-Armstrong without like slurring it together. And so I think he's like one of those guys that in those moments shows up. He'll all of a sudden just go out there and flirt with a no-hitter, in a huge playoff game, because that's what it brings out his best. And I think that he's one of those guys that really does pull from emotion. And so he does have the potential to be absolutely a potential ace if he stays healthy and plays the way that he is capable of. Again, he's one of those guys. Again, you throw enough lawn darts in the air, you're going to hit somebody in the leg, right? You put enough talent on the bump, guys are bound to get the job done. If it's not him, someone else will. But I think he's one of those guys that are that pride, that build off that. They kind of are fueled by more of the high intensity games. Midsummer game against a bad team with and a game that's not really super high leverage, he might fall asleep and make some stupid things and kind of lose focus. But you put him at Dodger Stadium on a Sunday night baseball game, and he might go out there and throw a no hitter. Like, who knows? And that's the kind of guy that he is. You don't want him throwing in a half empty ballpark on the road against a dead up to the neck ball club. You want him to throw in big situations, and that's where I think the best of him comes out.
To end the show here tonight, the season preview for the Cubs and Sox, I want to go over some projected stats for some of these guys, and we can start off with the White Sox here. These are from Fangraphs Zips projections for some of these guys. Anything that stands out here, I'm thinking I've been the Debbie Downer on Mooney, but I think a 24 home run season, and I know you're expecting more out of like your power hitting first baseman. You want higher than like a 121 WRC plus from those guys, but I think like that's decent. Anything stand out from here? Very low on Kyle Teal. I think Kyle Teal's gonna have a great season.
I think the Mooney one is, like, much as that be a disappointment, I do think that's a fair projection. That's kind of like on par with what I think he's going to do. I think the RBIs will be a little bit higher, but I had him around 25 homers, 75 RBIs. So I think that's the one that stands out, though, not necessarily Kyle Teal. Edgar Carroll, I think he's going to I think he's going to have a good year. People overlook him because of Kyle Teal. Mm-hmm. Carroll, arguably, I think could, like, long-term end up being the better player between the two. I really liked his game last year. The fact he's a switch hitter is nice. And then, he's working at Driveline all off season, trying to clean up some stuff. He had some issues with bat speed and launch angle last year, but he's a guy that I think can hit for a pretty high average for a catcher. So, like, I think he's going to hit better than 245. I think he'll hit probably around like 15 homers. I think he'll be in double digits for sure. So I think that one's a bit low. That was the one that kind of stood out to me. Teal, I could see coming off an injury, just getting off to a slower start. Those are a bit lower than I would have thought too. But Carroll's the one I think they shortchanged the most out of everyone on this list.
Do you want to guess who I think got shortchanged?
Lenine Sosa? No. Yeah, Colson Montgomery there. The Zips has him at 216 batting average, 23 home runs. I think the 23 home runs could be.
I think that's accurate, though. He doesn't hit for high average. He strikes out a lot. But, like, you look at the RBI and home run numbers, like, that's kind of what he is. He's going to give you good defense and then some pop. Like, so I
think you're going to get a much higher WRC plus. I think his OPS plus and WRC plus is going to be higher now. I think he's going to hit 30 home runs this year, too. But that's just me. That's just the Jordan Wicks in me.
That's the high man on Colson Montgomery.
Sosa, I'm wondering, like, how he's getting all the playing time to have 18 homers. Because, like, we saw last year, he has 18 homer power, but, like, I don't know if he's getting enough playing time to get that many. So that's another one that's kind of interesting. But
yeah, is Lenine Sosa going to be like DH? What's his role?
I thought they should have traded him this offseason. I don't know where you plug him in, unless it's like a platoon at second base, but or like DH. But, like, you already got, like, again, we talked Benintendi's probably going to be the primary DH.
Teal coming back.
My Droff, I would imagine, is getting the most of the reps at second. And he's a better defender than Sosa. So that's the problem with Sosa. He's not, like, he's versatile, quote unquote, but he's ass everywhere. So, like, does it really, like, matter where you put him if he's not? Third base, I think, is probably the strongest position. So if I guess Vargas, maybe you're switching off with him. But yeah, that's the one that I didn't really understand that one. I was surprised they didn't trade him this offseason. But
Maybe just no value. Nobody bought into that power surge.
I guess not.
But yeah, that one makes like a tricky playing time situation there with Lenny and Sosa. Man, I was saying I think Beeflove shared the Fangraphs. Fangraphs like ranked every position group. Right field, center field. Like White Sox were what, like bottom 2 or bottom 3, and
Yeah, it was like they were ranked out the 3. I think it was like 28th, 30th, and 27th or something like that. They were like the bottom 2, I think. And it was great.
That's pretty rough. I don't think Acuna's gonna be that bad.
I don't either. I think
I don't think he's gonna be good.
I think he could be around,
but I don't think he's gonna be that bad.
I think he'd be around a 250 hitter. I don't know what to expect power wise. I would like to see the OPS a little bit higher than 607, but I mean it's kind of on par for what he's done, so we'll see.
And then Austin Hayes. Go ahead.
I will say I do think with Acuna being in an environment like you're on a team that's like a lot of young, hungry guys. There's not a whole lot of expectations for this team, so like there's not as much pressure. Like in New York, he's playing playoff environment, like limited reps, so you're kind of pressing when you're out there. I think he's going to be able to go out and be like play a little bit more loose and free, and that's going to benefit a guy like that, especially with what he can do on the base path. So I think that's a bit low too.
And then Austin Hayes, like he's a trade piece. Like he's out of here by like July 25th.
Most likely. Unless they have as a placeholder the rest of the season until I could see them trading him and then like calling Antonacci up to like give him a runway in right field because he is a placeholder till Braden Montgomery is ready to come up.
By the way, I have a brief note on Antonacci, as Mitch brought up back like at the end of February. There, White Sox were starting to play him in the outfield in spring training, as we've said all throughout the spring, and then obviously after they draft Chalowski in the summer, that infield is going to be really full. You need to find a space for some of these guys, athletic guys, still young enough to learn a new position. Antonacci, maybe a future outfielder for the White Sox. Over to the Cubs projections here. Big year coming. Another year, big year coming. Projected for Michael Busch. Nico Horner, that looks in line to what he's done the past 4 years. Dansby Swanson, the same. Kind of disappointing. I thought he would hit for more power. I hope this is the year. Like, I think Dansby Swanson, like Cabrera, could be like a guy on offense who could be like the difference maker if he can add more power. Bregman going crazy in spring training. I think he's hit a home run in 3 straight games heading into the regular season. The catcher's about average there. I think that would actually be pretty good if he can get just like right below or like right at league average for the catching position. That'd be great. Ian Happ, again, just what he does, and everyone's gonna be mad at a 117 WRC plus. Pete Crow-Armstrong, Mitch, thoughts on Pete Crow-Armstrong's extension? 6 years, $115 million. 24 years old. He's about to turn 24 years old. Breakout year. What do you think?
This is my last point because I got to get ready for a 10 o'clock show coming up here. But I saw a lot of people shitting on that extension. I don't understand why. Like, I thought he put together solid enough. Like, of course, as a rookie, you're going to go through ups and downs. You might as well jump on that early. He wants to say, like, get it while it gets good, because in year 2 or 3, when he really pops off, this is going to be looking like a much better deal. I personally am a big PCA fan. I love the way he plays. Like, even when he's having a down game, you get that good defense and competitive fire. So I love the signing. I think it was smart on both sides there, especially if he did want to say to get him locked up. And if you look at the projections there, even if he had a season like that, like, yeah, I'd take that. Sign me up, especially defense up the middle, like going along with that. I mean, I thought it was a smart move.
There you go. Mitch, final thing before you go.
Smart.
White Sox win total in 2026.
72.
There you go. Bang. 72. Thank you, Mitch.
Have a good one, gentlemen.
Kevin, look at these projections. Anything stand out to you?
Let's see here. A lot of people hovering at 100 or... Oh, hey, that's a good-looking projection. Everybody's sitting at least 100, almost 100 or better on their WRCS projections. It looks like Cubs are going to score some runs, it looks like, which is big. But I think Nico's WRC plus will go up a little bit more, too. 9 home runs my ass. He might hit 4, but he'll hit a lot of doubles and triples, so it's fine. Let's see here.
That Alex Bregman one, that one I think it's because of the injury last year. I mean, they got him at only 18 home runs. a 739 OPS, a 114 or a 110 WRC plus. That would be a disappointing year for Alex Bregman.
I think Dansby's power numbers will be a little bit up. I think he'll hit more homers than
Kevin.
19.
I think this is the year.
Yeah, I think he finally gets a little bit because there's no pressure. He just can go out there and play. There's a lot of other guys that can handle. Bregman will take the pressure from him. He doesn't have to be the captain, Lieutenant Dan anymore. He can deal with the general. He can deal with General Bregman. Lieutenant Dan can take a seat and deal with the general. Like I said, I think Pete Crow-Armstrong's going to hit 30 at least this year, probably more. Seiya, I think that's pretty fair for Seiya, especially with his occasional health issues.
Yeah.
And it's really, the biggest part is like all these RBI numbers. There's only so many mouths to feed. So like, if a couple of these guys, start eating the whole Happy Meal, the other guys aren't going to have as many RBI opportunities because there's just not going to be as many guys on base because they're already been cleared. So that's something that I'm sure Cubs fans will definitely overreact to when they're judging somebody's statistics when the Cubs are putting up 6-7 runs a game and winning, and they're still going to find something to nitpick at. Today, like I heard from a guy that said that Pete Crow-Armstrong is terrible and he was overrated, and that look how bad he was for the second half of the season. It doesn't warrant paying a guy, $19 million a year. I'm like, do you know the market, bro? First off, for that, but we'll see. The overreaction will be there, but I think that I think out of the catcher spot, you'd be really happy to get 77 RBIs. And what I don't see on here is what the projections are for Moises, which I'm curious about. What do they have for Moises?
Let me look those up right away. But yeah, interesting stuff there. I think maybe a little low on the power numbers around some of the guys. I think Bush can have another 30 home run season. Again, Bregman there. Those projections a little off because of the injuries the past couple of years with him. But with Ballesteros here, we got the Zips projection of a 262 batting average, 324 on base, 392 slug, a 101 WRC plus with 14 home runs. We got here 60 runs scored, 72 RBIs for him. And why not sprinkle in 2 stolen bases for Moises Ballesteros? I think that'd be that one's tough because one, he's young, he's only 22. He's a DH, and you're on a team that has, World Series aspirations here. Kind of a lot of pressure because those might seem like okay numbers. You want a lot more production out of your DH spot than that. Like if he's only putting up league average numbers out of the DH spot, there's kind of a problem there.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll be the case though. He is really, he's good, and I think he will get 2 stolen bases. He's going to piggyback.
Hitter.
He's going to piggyback. He's going to backside piggyback on a double steal. He's going to someone else is going to grab a bag in front of him, and he's just going to kind of trail it on in the backside. But we'll take it, right? We'll take any kind of time to get it, especially for the slower guys. It's always nice to kind of like be able to, get a couple of those stolen bases on your record so that you can tell everybody that you weren't a complete sloth when you played.
And I think maybe he taps into a little more power this year. Maybe first full year in the big leagues, gets a full, MLB ready off season. I know he had the early visa issues, but again, that he shows up to camp and just hits. Dude,
and he's going to see better velocity. He's going to see better velocity too. So him being able to drive the baseball is going to actually have a better opportunity if he squares things up because of the velocity. So the faster it goes in, the faster it goes out, kind of thing. And so that'll help provide the opposing pitchers are going to provide a little bit more for him too. So I think you should see an uptick in the power numbers. And I think he's a veteran, not a veteran, but he's an old soul with the bat, if that makes sense. He's not an immature hitter. He goes up there. Of all the things that he does, that's the one thing. Like he was bred for it. He was born to be a hitter. He's born to be a slugger. And so that stuff naturally is it'll take care of itself. It's the other stuff around the game. Is he going to clog the bases? Is he going to, can he run? Can he do the other things that aren't going to hurt the guys around him? Like, can he score on a 2-out knock? To maybe left center. Can he make? Or is he going to hold him up? You have to hold him up every time because you don't want to get punched out. So like those things. Is he getting better jumps? And because he's not super fast, this is where good fundamentals come in. He can give himself an extra step and a half if he just plays absolutely. Look, KB wasn't the fastest dude ever. We talk about this all the time, but KB was an absolute stellar base runner. And
I think one of the best, like just pure base, like fun, like you said, fundamentals, just IQ on the bases, the anticipation, everything that goes into like being a good base runner. Chris Bryant, Nico Horner, PCA has the speed, but Chris Bryant, man, just the ball player that he was, man. God damn.
Yeah, and that's that kind of stuff, though. But guys that aren't fast have to figure out how to make up for it elsewhere, and that's what you getting a good lead, getting good reads, realizing how to, knowing when to break. God, half the problem with most of these players these days is reads. Real good veteran base runners know what a hit looks like. They know what a hit looks like. They know who's out there. They know what the situation is. They know who's in center. They know who's in right. They know who's at second. So they know that a baseball that's hit, that's kind of like a nubber to the right center. They know who can get to that and who can't, and they make their decisions like that. So he's going to have to be a guy that knows more about his opponents defensively, especially than they know about themselves. And being able to know what a hit looks like, with 1 out, 2 out, you can break because that's dropping. Like, you don't have to hesitate. And if he can get to that point, he can at least make up for some of those deficiencies that he has with like just the general lack of foot speed.
I do think 2 things are going to happen with Moises Ballesteros this year that are going to annoy fans at one point or another. One thing, we've seen it with Michael Busch in the past, and that's actually going to change this year. Michael Busch, Craig Counsell already said, Michael Busch, lefties, no problem. He's going to be getting 600 plate appearances this year. Moises Ballesteros has struggled against left-handed pitching throughout his minor league career, so it does seem like he'll be platooning. And we got Mitch back here.
I was thinking, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I was thinking about the PTA. I'm done with the show, so I can hop on.
Here we go.
The PCA extension too. This is another point I didn't bring up. Like, not even just from the baseball side. Like, from the marketability side, it's also smart because he's a guy I think you can get a return on obviously you're paying him for what he's doing on the field. Just from the star power alone and like how much like a lot of people in the city seem to embrace him and what you're going to get off jersey sales, I think like you're going to get a return on investment in that contract too, because he's one of the more marketable young people, not even just like in the sport in general, like in the city of Chicago. So, sorry, I was thinking about that like earlier, but anyway, back to the platoon room.
No, it's so fun just on that. And we were talking about like some of the reaction from like Sox fans, Dodgers fans, Mets fans, in division, Cardinals fans, Brewers fans, shitting on it and being like, "Oh, it's so fluky. This guy's not that good. He's just like getting Billy Hamilton comps." Pete Crow-Armstrong is just like, he's not the villain that people like that other fans want him to be. Like, I think we talked about this, Kevin. Like, you listen to his interviews. This dude is humble as hell. He's well-spoken. He gives you intelligent thoughts. He's not, like, on the field, yes. He's the hothead. He's the guy pounding his chest, whatever. But, like, on camera, like, just a regular interview, this guy is just not like the asshole prick that a lot of fans want him to be off his, on-field persona. And it's just such a delight because as Cubs fans, we just sit back and we're like, yeah, I mean, hate him, I guess. I don't know why.
Remember how much everybody loved him in the All-Star game, though? Like after that inning where he was mic'd up and he had so many really good like responses to the interview questions, and everyone's like, that's a guy with a great head on his shoulders. And then, he shits all over the Dodgers a little bit this offseason, and it's like, kill that man! Kill him! Like, it's great. Sox fans are going to hate whoever's good on the Cubs.
I think the big thing with him and why he got so much, because, like, honestly, even, like, the bat slams, the temper tantrums, like, okay, it's probably like
I don't like that part, but
I don't either, but, like, at least it shows me he gives a shit. I would rather watch that in the middle of August than Yoan Moncada, like, looking like a turtle that just took a shit walking down to the first baseline and pounding it into another double play. So, like, I'll take that. I think part of it, though, I think he got so much hate is just because, like, I do think he was a bit overrated the way he was hyped up. But if I was a White Sox fan and he was on my team, I would be hyping him up too. Like, so let's not act like that if this guy had a White Sox uniform, like, we wouldn't be doing the same damn thing. Like we all hype up Colson Montgomery and Kyle Teo, and I think they're both going to be great. But if you look at their numbers, like we're probably overhyping them a little bit more than like they deserve to be hyped based on their body of work last season. So I think it's the same thing with PCA. Just people just you throw in that like animated stuff, and it makes it like, oh, like yeah, he's overhyped, and now look at him throwing a temper tantrum. So he's like gives him a target on his back that I think's undeserved.
I like to think too that this year, I think that you're going to see less of it. I'd like to think that he's growing up, he's maturing, he's got people like Bregman in his ear saying, "Young man, look, you know, you're going to fail, but those moments, those milliseconds after your failure, that's the best time for you to figure out what just went wrong. And if you let that moment pass because you're letting the rage take over and you want to throw your bat, chuck things, you're missing the most natural, raw moment where you can actually give yourself self-analysis of what just happened immediately. It's the closest memory you will have to that failure, and figuring that out and failing to use that moment and, you know, instead wasting it by chucking your bat or acting, you know, that's the stuff that you miss. And so I think guys like Bregman will tell him, save that, you know, yeah, be upset, but in that moment, figure out what just went wrong first. Then come back and you can have you can be angry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be disappointed. You know, you want guys to show self-control though, and that self-control does eventually play out in maturity and all these other things. Is he gonna get too aggressive in a base running situation? You want guys that have a head on their shoulder where they can slow the game down, not speed things up, and still play at that fast level. Again, guys like Michael Jordan played fast, but the game was slow to them, and you want them to slow that game down for them. And the temper tantrum stuff, I just like body language stuff. I dislike that kind of stuff. I'm going to give Bryce Harper shit for it forever because he's the biggest baby ever. I've been seeing it since he was 12. But that kind of stuff does, I think, just it's a bad look, and it shows a lack of maturity. And I think guys like Bregman will be like, hey, bud, I know you're passionate, but let's maybe try our best to reel it in. And you're going to see this year, like, well, here comes the putter throw, Happy Gilmore kind of things. Like, nope. And they're like, good job. It was going to be a helmet throw. Instead, he set his helmet down. Good job, Pete. Like they're going to it'll be kind of a running gag with him to kind of keep the, because he's a redhead. He's fiery, man. It's going to happen, but he can show that maturity. I think you'll see less of it this year because he did put a target on his back. So he wants to have good energy.
In my view, like, I think that's exactly why you bring in a guy like Bregman. Like, I hear people saying, like, oh, like, he's going to be better than Kyle. Like, no, he's not. Like, he's not going to have the same offense production. But what he does have is, like, championship experience. He's got a good head on his shoulders. That's the type of guy you want. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to be like a scrub this year. Like, he's going to give you some production. But I think the bigger value with him is just, like, what he does for a locker room. He knows how to win. If you're trying to get over that Dodgers hump, that's the guy you want on your side in the trenches with you.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. One thing though, I don't want Major League to Ricky Vaughn losing the fire out of PCA. I don't want that to happen to him. Before you jump back on, Mitch, I was just going to say how Moises Ballesteros, Cubs fans are going to get that it's going to be at one point of the season where he's going to sit a couple games against left-handed starters, and they're going to be like, "Why is he not in the lineup?" And then number two, we're going to have the urge of if he gets on a hot streak, they're going to be like, "Hey, move him up in the order. This other guy's struggling. Moving from like 7 to the cleanup spot." And again, he's only 22 years old. I've said it before how I do want young players, if they're up, I want them playing. I want them getting the most at-bats. I think it's a little different when it's a rebuilding team and a competing team. And if your competing team has other established guys already in your lineup, you kind of move that rookie down. So I don't have a problem with Ballesteros' batting near the bottom of the lineup for the majority of the season, unless like injuries happen. It's like, all right, well, we need a lefty bat here. It would be better to have a lefty bat here or there. And also because of his speed, he's going to be taken out a lot. If the Cubs are ever trailing, it's a close game for a pinch runner. Could come back to bite him if it's like a guy who can't hit and game goes into extra innings. But that's just going to happen to Ballesteros a lot. Kevin and Mitch to finish off the show here. Mitch, we got your 72 game win prediction for the White Sox. What do you got for the Cubs here?
I think they'll be, I'm going to put them I'll put them at 90.
90. Okay. 90 wins.
I don't think they'll be I don't think it's going to be much higher, but I think it's going to be 89, 90.
And then does that win the NL Central?
I think it will.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a lot of the teams in like the mid. I think they're far and away the most talented team in that division. And I think there's a couple teams that are intriguing. They're like the Cardinals are going to be dog water. We all kind of know that. Pirates, I think, are going to be interesting. The Brewers, like, part of me wants to be like, you can't keep trading away this talent and like sustain success, but they always find ways.
They just always find a fucking way, man.
And the Reds have a lot of talent too. So I think those three teams is almost going to be like, to compare it to the Missouri Valley Conference this year in basketball. I love mid-major, but there's a lot of teams that were like, okay, that just kind of beat up on each other throughout the season. So the records didn't look all that great. And I think the Cubs is the class of the field. I'm comparing them to the Belmont in my analogy here.
Okay.
Going to run away with, so that's a bad analogy, but yeah, I think the Cubs will easily win that division just because a lot of these teams are going to be eating each other alive, just like in the division, that are like all kind of like good, but not like playoff good. If that makes
Belmont, former OVC powerhouse. Shout out JJ Mann from like 2013. Kevin, Cubs win total, and do they win the division?
They win the division. I'm homering it up. Let's go 93 wins.
93, all right. I mean, it's not that far out. I think they're projected. Some of these projection models, though, like, Fangraphs has, like, they're so low across the league. It's like everyone's like 86, 87 wins. Like, all right. Like,
yeah,
there has to be something higher there. I'm with you guys.
I say 76 wins for the White Sox, too, by the way.
Oh, they
76.
I
think that'd be fantastic.
They get to
I'm
70,
fucking crazy.
I'm so happy. Which I think
I'll
they can.
go. I'm not that high. No, I'm not. That we just went over their outfield and then their pitching staff. I'll go White Sox at 67 wins. Not bad.
Okay.
That's an over on the win total, right?
Yeah, I would. That's actually, I think, right where it's set at. I think it's
Right,
65
all right.
and a half.
Right on it.
What I-
67 for the White Sox. You bring in some of the younger guys in the second half, and it gets a little more fun.
Just from the fact, like, you look at how many leads they blew last year, like, and the one-run games, terrible. The bullpen in itself, because like even the back end of that bullpen, it's gonna be good. Like, they're not blowing as many leads this year. So as bad as the starting rotation is, it was pretty bad last year too. So I think just having the improved bullpen is gonna like help boost that by like 5 to 6 wins right there.
Yep, there you go. So I got the White Sox at 67 wins. Cubs, I'll go with 92 wins. Finally get back to the mountaintop of the NL Central. The Brewers just can't keep getting away with this shit. It has to stop eventually. They keep trading away all their best players who are about to be free agents, and they just keep coming up with new guys that can just pitch the lights out. But I think this is the year the Cubs finally win the NL Central again. Let's go straight to World Series predictions here to end the show. We'll start off with you, Kevin. World Series matchup, World Series winner.
Chicago Cubs versus the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ooh. Winner?
Toronto Blue Jays.
Ah, damn.
We're going to get to the precipice, but it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot.
Mitch, you got World Series matchup, World Series winner.
Dodgers, Mariners.
Boo.
That's what I think it'll be. Dodgers are going to win it. And I won't even be upset. I actually, you know what? I was an outlier last year. I was kind of rooting for the Dodgers against Toronto. Call me crazy. Like, I thought they were such a fun team to watch. Like, I enjoyed like the good baseball that was played. I didn't really have a dog in the fight, but like I was not like, oh, like pounding the table. Damn, LA won again. I enjoyed watching.
Not okay, Mitch. Not
you don't live in Las Vegas next to LA. You don't have to deal with these Dodger fans everywhere.
I don't know, Kevin. Not as much. I like once it got to Game 7, I was like, "Come on, Toronto!" But I didn't like. I wasn't like, "Oh, fuck the Dodgers" when they won. When they played the Yankees, I was like, "All right, let's go Dodgers." So, that matchup, I was definitely on board with you there. This year, I'll go. Man.
While you think about that, I do have the Cubs losing to the Dodgers in the NLCS.
Okay.
I'll
take it.
That's where our paths diverge. I live in the multiverse where the Cubs somehow find a way to sting the Dodgers in that series. And then it just...
Well, if the pitching staff holds up like we think it will, you steal one game in LA and all of a sudden you're heading back to Wrigley with 3 and, you got Cabrera lined up like for start that next. I mean, I like their chance.
I mean, they don't have minus odds to win it. I mean, the Dodgers think are plus 200 something to win it. Like, it's not like even Vegas doesn't think that it's like there's a sure thing anyway. Because baseball's baseball, man.
Yep.
There's a buzzsaw waiting for everybody at every turn. Let's
go with. I mean, I hate to say it. I'll go with the Los Angeles Dodgers against. I like their talent that they have. Let's go Dodgers Red Sox,
Ooh.
and then the new evil empire. It's the Dodgers again.
Okay.
3-peat.
I learned my lesson last year. I had the Boston going all the way to the World Series once the playoffs started, and they got knocked out in the first round. So I'm not trusting Boston again. I do like their lineup though. Like I think that team. Like I could see it. That would be a great World Series too.
So these two guys picked the Empire. I'm standing with the Rebels. I am.
As much as we hate what the Dodgers have become, what the Dodgers
they're so good
to baseball, they're so damn
so good.
They got Roki Sasaki who like can't get anybody out. He can't throw a strike, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They have that other guy that they signed, Hee-Seong Kim. He would be a starter on 29 other teams. They just have him stashed away in AAA.
Even just like with Tucker in that lineup, man, like that lineup was so good last year. You throw Tucker in there where he's got lineup protection.
What was their biggest thing? What was their biggest issue heading into the postseason? They didn't have like a good bullpen. So what did they do? They just added Edwin Diaz.
I would take Edwin Diaz, yeah.
Like, I mean, I hate to say it, just like they just got better at whatever their weakness was.
I know they have the TV advantage too, like obviously with like the TV money, but you know what? They're willing to defer and they pay these guys. Like that's why I can't be mad at them. Like I want the White Sox to be doing that too. Like I get they got the slight advantage with the TV thing, but
so that's right. We're all gonna be happy. Dodgers 3-peat heading right into the lockout. That's what we got predicted.
I love Dodger Stadium too. I was when I was living up there for like 6 months in my senior year of college. I went to a couple games up there. That's like one of those stadiums you look at it on TV and it's like, eh. Then when you get there and you see like the mountains in the back and like it's got that like old school feel. Like it is a sweet place to catch a game. Like that's one of my favorite ballparks I've been to.
All right, guys. Any last thoughts here as we get to opening day, 2 days away?
It's time. Let's go. And make sure you tune in because we're going to be popping on here right after the game, right?
On Thursday, make sure to get your notifications on YouTube, and then we'll post up the podcast later on. We will be live post-game after Cubs and Sox, both playing in the afternoon there.
Looking forward to it. Should be, I mean, opening day is always great. I mean,
go down.
The 2 days I can wear a hat to work and like.
Sorry.
I mean, it looks like pretty decent weather in Chicago. I mean, the White Sox are playing in Milwaukee, but even next week for the White Sox home opener, I think it looks like pretty decent weather on the south side.
I've never been to an opening day. It still doesn't really count because it's a home opener. I had tickets for opening day in 2020, and I was all excited because I never went. We all know how that ended. But yeah, so next best thing, home opener. So I'm excited. I think, and then we got the defending champs too for that, or AL champs too with the
Blue Jays.
So that's a good early test between the Brewers and Blue Jays. See where you stack up.
There you go. All right. Thanks again for everyone tuning in, watching. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. For Mitch, Kevin, I'm Aldo. Zoe will be back next week. Thank you, everybody, and have a good one.